She said, because I know Rick is still hurting.
It got really, really bad.
Sparking debates about Rick Harrison's true character off-camera and behind the success of the Pawn Stars brand. In a newly released interview on an independent podcast channel in Nevada, Deanna Burdett, Rick Harrison's third ex-wife, described their relationship as a performative marriage, devoid of emotion, and driven more by public image than family values. She stated clearly, "He lives in a world where everything revolves around himself and his career. Everyone in the family, including me, stood on the sidelines." One notable point in Deanna's account was Rick's way of controlling the household environment, from daily schedules to major decisions, without consulting her. "I had no voice in anything. From vacations to buying a house, everything was decided beforehand, and I was just informed," Deanna said. She also mentioned that Rick would often be away from home for several days, attending events related to Pawn Stars without her, even though she had been promised backstage involvement in some episodes. Deanna, who has 3 children from a previous marriage, shared that Rick never truly established a close bond with them. He wasn't hostile, but he kept a clear distance. Even during holidays, birthdays, or Thanksgiving, Rick didn't take on any meaningful role beyond simply being present. Another noteworthy detail was Rick's insistence that she stay out of the media and any public events associated with the Pawn Stars brand. She recalled, "At first, I was introduced as someone who would join Rick in some of the show's off-stage activities, but then he completely changed. I wasn't allowed to speak to the press or be photographed at events. Rick said it was best to keep the media out of the family. But in truth, he just wanted to protect his clean personal image." According to Deanna, the disagreements and feelings of isolation lasted for years. She had suggested marriage counseling, but Rick refused, claiming, "That was my issue, not his." She admitted that in the final stretch of their marriage, they had nearly no meaningful communication. Even so, Deanna emphasized that she had no intention of slandering Rick. "He is intelligent, successful, and knows how to achieve his goals. But the person who builds a brand and the person who builds a family are not always the same." When asked why she chose to speak out now, Deanna said she had remained silent out of respect for Rick's privacy and to protect their children. But after Rick continued making public statements about the family, particularly following the death of his son Adam, she felt she deserved the right to speak up, at least once. As of now, Rick Harrison has not issued an official response to Deanna's claims. On social media, public opinion is divided. Some sympathize with Deanna, saying she deserves to speak after enduring years of silence, while others believe she chose a sensitive time to attract attention as Rick goes through a personal loss. Behind the first-hand accounts and long-standing tensions lies a series of events spanning many years, intertwined with Rick Harrison's journey from a regular businessman to a reality television icon. To understand why Deanna felt left behind, it is essential to look back at Rick's path to success, where the spotlight eventually overshadowed the presence of those closest to him. Becoming a reality television icon. Rick Harrison was born in 1965 in Lexington, North Carolina, into a family with 4 children. At just 8 years old, he was diagnosed with epilepsy, which forced him to miss school frequently and spend most of his time at home. The illness, which lasted into his teenage years, had a significant impact on Rick's mental state, but it also sparked his passion for books, especially those about history and business. In 1981, Rick's family relocated to Las Vegas after his parents' real estate ventures failed. Alongside his father, Richard, the Old Man Harrison, Rick began working at a small coin and collectibles shop, the precursor to the gold and silver pawn shop. Initially, they focused on buying and reselling antiques, watches, and jewelry. primarily serving locals and tourists. In 1989, the shop was officially licensed as a pawn business, marking the first major turning point in the brand's development. Rick quickly demonstrated an exceptional ability to evaluate item value and detect counterfeits, a skill that later helped him stand out on television. Thanks to a clear positioning strategy and sharp market insight, by 2005, Gold and Silver Pawn Shop was issuing over $3 million in loans annually, generating steady profits and establishing a solid reputation in Las Vegas. The biggest shift, though, came in 2009. After years of pitching to television production companies, Rick signed a deal with Left Field Pictures to bring the shop's operations to the screen. The show Pawn Stars officially premiered on the History Channel in July of that year and immediately captured attention with its unscripted format centered around the buying, selling, and appraisal of unique items. Rick played the central role in the show, acting as both the face of the shop and the main figure leading the transactions. Alongside his father, his son Corey Harrison, and longtime friend Austin "Chumlee" Russell, Rick formed an irreplaceable team. The chemistry between the cast members and the intense negotiations contributed to Pawn Stars becoming the most popular program on the History Channel for several years. Outside of television, Rick expanded his personal influence. In 2011, he published the memoir License to Pawn, in which he shared insights into his life, business, and behind-the-scenes moments of the show. The book quickly landed on the New York Times bestseller list. Rick also became the face of various brands, from shaving products to household items, and made regular appearances on television shows such as The Middle and iCarly. Success in his career came with notable changes in Rick's lifestyle and the way he managed personal relationships. As the show reached its peak between 2011 and 2016, which also marked the early years of his marriage to Deanna, his schedule became packed with media events, book signings, conferences, and efforts to expand the brand internationally. While the media portrayed Rick as a television pawn shop mogul, his private life became increasingly closed off. Relationships with friends and family, including members of the show's team, began to shift. Deanna Burdett, his legal wife at the time, did not appear in any episode of Pawn Stars, even though she was living with Rick and assisting with daily household affairs. Television success helped Rick Harrison build a strong personal brand, but it also turned him into a completely different person from the early days of his business. Those changes led to growing tensions and distance in Rick's personal life, fractures within the marriages. Rick's first marriage was to Kim Harrison in the early 1980s. They tied the knot when Rick was just over 18 years old, during a time when he was struggling to settle into life in Las Vegas. Kim is the mother of his first two sons, Corey Harrison, born in 1983, and Adam Harrison, 1985-2024. Although the two lived together and supported Rick through difficult years, the relationship quickly fell apart after 3 years, and Kim chose to completely withdraw from the public eye. To this day, little is publicly known about her, except that she remained close to Corey and Adam throughout the years. Rick then remarried Tracy Harrison in 1986. This became his longest-lasting marriage, spanning more than 2 decades. They had one son together, Jake Harrison. Tracy was once believed to be quietly involved in helping Rick operate the Gold and Silver shop before the Pawn Stars show was launched. As Rick's fame grew on television, Tracy's presence faded. She did not appear on television, did not attend events with her husband, and was never mentioned in any of Rick's public statements. Tracy was virtually erased from the media narrative, even though she was still his legal wife at the time. Family sources revealed that the greatest disagreement between Rick and Tracy stemmed from how he managed his time and presence at home. Rick was frequently absent during vacations and school events for their son, leaving Tracy to handle everything on her own. In 2011, they quietly divorced without major asset disputes, and since then, Tracy has withdrawn entirely from all media platforms. After 2 long and quietly ended marriages, Rick unexpectedly went public with his relationship with Deanna Burdett in early 2012. They married in July 2013, and as noted earlier, this marriage also ended after 7 years. During their time together, Rick had no biological children with Deanna, but lived with her 3 daughters from a previous relationship. According to Deanna, Rick never truly created a cohesive family atmosphere, and his reluctance to mention her in public events was a clear sign of distance. Beyond these 3 official marriages, Rick also married Amanda Palmer in 2021. This was the shortest marriage on record for him, lasting only about 2 years and receiving little attention in the media. Amanda did not appear alongside Rick at events, and the divorce took place quietly at the end of 2023. According to some entertainment sources in Las Vegas, the reason was said to be lifestyle differences. Amanda preferred a quiet life, while Rick continued expanding his television brand across multiple states. The continuous cycle of marriages and divorces over more than 40 years reveals that Rick Harrison's personal life has been far from stable, contrary to the tough exterior seen by the public. Although he remains private, the silence from those once close to him, from Kim and Tracy to Amanda, subtly suggests that not everyone can endure life alongside someone who always prioritizes his career. These broken relationships, the silence of former spouses, and Rick's distance from personal affairs have created a portrait filled with emotional voids. But everything truly escalated when tragedy struck. The death of his son Adam pushed Rick into the spotlight of public scrutiny and began to reveal the remaining shadows within the Harrison family. A cruel blow and divided public opinion. On January 19, 2024, Adam Harrison, Rick Harrison's second son, was confirmed dead in Las Vegas due to a drug overdose. The cause of death was later revealed to be a combination of fentanyl and methamphetamine, 2 dangerous substances contributing to the widespread opioid crisis in the United States. Adam passed away at the age of 39, leaving behind not only family grief, but also sorrow from viewers who knew of him through his father's fame. Adam had rarely appeared on television and was not involved in the Pawn Stars show. Unlike his brother Corey, Adam chose a private life. He once worked at the pawn shop for a brief period, but stepped away completely once the show began airing. Rick previously stated that Adam did not want to be involved in the spotlight, and the two maintained a relatively private relationship for years. Shortly after the news was confirmed, Rick Harrison posted a brief message on social media. "My heart is broken. My son, Adam, died from a drug overdose. The fentanyl crisis is stealing an entire generation." With one statement, Rick placed himself at the center of a national debate on social responsibility and the reality behind the rising death toll from illicit drug use in America. Not long after, he appeared in a more than 20-minute interview on In Depth with Graham Bensinger. This was the first time Rick publicly expressed raw emotions, his face tense, voice hoarse, and he frequently paused to collect himself. He described the pain as indescribable and harshly criticized the government's lax border control, claiming fentanyl is flowing in like water and no one is taking responsibility. The public's response was not entirely supportive. While many sympathized with Rick's grief over losing his son, a significant portion began questioning, was Rick's relationship with Adam truly as close as he portrayed? Some pointed out that Rick rarely mentioned Adam on air or in past interviews. In contrast to Corey, frequently referenced and seen alongside Rick, Adam was never included in any part of Pawn Stars, despite being his biological son. Even those who had worked with Rick on the show were reserved when asked about Adam. A former producer, speaking anonymously, said, "We almost never heard him talk about Adam. everything revolved around Corey, Chumley, and the show, Chisao. This only deepened the divide in public opinion as Rick ramped up efforts to advocate for fentanyl control following his son's death. Reactions from people once connected to Rick were also noteworthy. Deanna Burdett, Rick's third ex-wife, did not comment directly on the incident, but in an interview conducted just weeks later, she briefly stated, "I don't doubt the pain Rick is going through, but I believe there are things that should have been built long before loss came." Corey Harrison, Adam's older brother, posted an old photo on Instagram with the caption, "Rest easy, brother." He made no further public comments and continued filming for Pawn Stars as usual. Corey's silence sparked speculation about internal tensions within the Harrison family, which had already been the subject of past rumors. Meanwhile, Rick continued to appear in the media as a spokesperson on the consequences of synthetic drug use. He participated in a public health conference in Los Angeles, gave interviews to Fox News and the Daily Mail, and signed a petition calling for stronger inspections at the southern U.S. border. Still, many believe Rick is using this personal tragedy to bolster his public image. Some media analysts questioned whether he was attempting to reshape his persona following a series of personal setbacks, especially after multiple divorces and the prolonged silence of his former spouses. In this context, Rick's actions were seen as both a sincere effort and a calculated strategy. Public opinion remains split. One thing is certain: Adam Harrison's death has had a profound impact on Rick's life, not only emotionally, but also in how he presents himself to the public. For the first time in years, Rick no longer had complete control of the narrative. He showed vulnerability and exposed gaps that he had long concealed beneath a calm exterior. After an irreplaceable loss and unresolved controversy, Rick Harrison continues to appear with his familiar strong image. But this time, beside him, stands a completely new woman, prompting questions from the public. Is this a genuine new beginning, or simply Rick's next media move? The fifth fiancé. In March 2025, Rick Harrison confirmed his engagement to Angie Polushkin, a 41-year-old nurse living and working in Las Vegas. The announcement came directly from Rick through a brief Instagram post, accompanied by a photo taken in Casablanca, Chile, the location of his proposal. Notably, this marked the first time Rick had publicly shared details about his personal life on social media since his 2020 divorce from Deanna Burdett. According to close sources, Rick and Angie met in late 2023 through a public health charity event. Their relationship remained private for several months before photos of the couple began to surface at local Las Vegas restaurants by mid-2024. At that time, Rick was still dealing with the emotional aftermath of his son Adam's death. The engagement announcement came as a surprise to many, as Rick had previously stated in an interview that he would never consider marriage again. This change of heart came less than a year after he began publicly criticizing government drug policies and emerged as a spokesperson for anti-fentanyl campaigns. Some fans believe Rick's decision to go public with the new relationship is a sign that he has regained personal stability. Angie is described as a reserved individual with a stable nursing career, previously working at a major Nevada hospital and participating in various charity efforts. She has no ties to the entertainment industry and had never appeared in the media prior to meeting Rick. This has led the public to perceive the relationship as genuine and potentially offering long-term stability for Rick. Still, an opposing view frames this as a strategic media move. After a series of personal upheavals, including multiple divorces and the death of his son, Rick is seen as needing to rebuild his public image, not just as the face of Pawn Stars, but as a family man. Becoming engaged to a woman outside the entertainment world with a wholesome image is considered a savvy way to deflect media scrutiny and regain the trust of loyal fans. Throughout the development of this new relationship, Rick has continued to serve as the central figure on Pawn Stars, a show now in its 20th plus season and available on multiple international platforms. The spin-off, Pawn Stars Do America, is also gaining attention, with Rick taking the lead role. In addition, he has been active in a series of public seminars on American history, sharing his expertise in antique appraisal and speaking at business conferences. In his recent appearances, Rick has shown a calmer demeanor, making fewer public statements and consistently avoiding questions about his family or personal past. A journalist who covered the launch of the 15th anniversary photo book for Pawn Stars noted, "Rick isn't as attention-seeking as he used to be. He chooses silence more often now and has better control over what gets shared publicly." Angie Palushkin has never spoken to the press about her relationship with Rick, and according to reports from several local sources, she continues to work at the hospital despite an increasingly busy schedule due to media attention. So far, there is no information indicating that they have set a wedding date or made plans to live in a new residence. While it remains unclear whether this is a genuine beginning or a calculated move, it is evident that Rick Harrison is taking control of his public image after a long period of turbulence. Following 4 marriages, family loss, and media pressure, he still maintains a central role in the reality television landscape, something not all his peers from the same era have achieved. Looking back at Rick Harrison's personal journey from 1982 to now reveals a pattern of relationships intertwined with his career development. And even though many people have quietly stepped out of his life, Rick continues to appear regularly in public, standing as a symbol of resilience and the ability to navigate difficult situations. What do you think about Rick's image today? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to follow our latest videos.